Welcome to the Big Movement Podcast. If you're ready to create results and make huge strides in your business, finances, personal development, and health, then you're in the right place. Pushing past excuses and powering through procrastination can be a challenge alone. Here, you'll get the support, tools, and knowledge you need to get to the level you desire in your business and life. Let's get started with your host, Byron Ingram.
And welcome to another episode of the Big Movement Podcast. And today we have a special guest who is going to help us get a better understanding of how you can be able to recover from things such as depression, to create a new and improved life, to build a business and communities so you can be able to live the life that you deserve. So today, let's give a warm welcome to Sharon Jackson. So Sharon, welcome.
Hi there. How are you doing, Byron?
I'm doing amazing. It's a wonderful day here. So any day that you can be able to have an impact with people's lives, it's a great day. It
is, yes, definitely.
So now, Sharon, tell us a little bit about yourself, of like your background.
My background. I used to term myself by my roles, which was wife, mother, daughter, what have you. Now I try and explain myself by my goals, that I'm a visionary, that I'm an action taker, and my favourite is I'm a smile generator because I love making people smile. And I guess, as we all do, I've been evolving my whole life, but these last few years I've actually learned to take control over how I evolve. I've come to realise that it's all about control and responsibility, control over your own actions and taking responsibility for them. And I realise that far too often we're giving both of them up to others, and then we lament how life is crap and unfair and, oh, whiny, whine. So life has been undergoing a lot of changes the last few years. As I grew up, I was pretty conforming as a child. I was pretty well behaved. I did well at school. I behaved myself at home. I was a child of quite conservative parents. So I was brought up in quite an atmosphere of you get a good education, you get a good job for life, you work hard, you retire, and that's it. And really there's probably about 3 or 4 things that made me change over the last few years. A close relative had cancer. She's okay now, she's fine. But it made me stop and think about my future and what was out there that I could discover and find out for myself and experience. And having kids changed me. Oh my God. Having kids changed me. I was quite shy and introverted. I still am introverted, but having kids brought out the lioness in me. It was kind of, I have to assert myself. These are my cubs I've got to protect and everything. It was a really, really strange feeling. And then starting my own business was just such a big thing for me because everybody was like, oh my God, you're doing what? And it made me change so much. I had to totally emerge from my introvert cave. I had to totally come out and participate in the wider world. And then the last thing, the catalyst for everything that I am now, was depression, and I had postnatal depression, and what I didn't realise was it had lingered, and I'd never really recovered, and it just got worse and worse a couple of years ago, and I finally acknowledged that I needed help for it, and that was the big, huge catalyst for my self-knowledge and inner growth. To bring me where I am today, because I realised that medication could only take me so far, and if I became reliant on it to make me feel better, then that wasn't going to help me or anybody else in my life. And I had to kind of meet the medication halfway by doing some mindset work and things like that. So, yeah, the last 2 years I've been developing myself, my life and my business in ways that I've never imagined. And I've now changed my focus to something that I am truly happy doing. And for the first time ever, I think, I have ambition and vision for what my future might be. And it's been a long journey and there's been a few stumbles. but I'm here and I'm making it, and I don't know. That's where I am. I just got here and I'm loving life now. It's great.
Oh, that's excellent. And it's something that you have to do in terms of that self-discovery, that there's not a single path in life that says you must do these things. You think about, and it doesn't matter where anybody's at in the world, there's that mindset that people are instilled at that early age. You have to go to school, do all your homework, and you work hard, and then you can live this great life, and not realizing that's almost a bunch of crap, because you have to. Yeah, almost. There's a few parts of it that still work, but it's not this rosy picture that you can do all those things, and then you're wondering, how did I end up in this hole? And you followed what everyone said. You followed your parents. It said you studied hard, check. You went to school, check. You had the great job, check. And then something happened before you know it. All of that's gone and torn from underneath you, and you're doing something entirely different.
Yeah.
So we have to start realizing that each person has the distinct path in life. When you think of there being over 7 billion people on the planet, there's 7 billion plus ways to achieve happiness and success in life.
Yes. And that's what it's all about. It's about finding your own path.
Right. Exactly. That no one can be able to say, here's the path that you go along, here's the map, here's your compass, you're set, just follow it and you're done. Well, no. Someone can give you an example and say, here's the things that worked for me. Now go figure it out based on that. That's what life is these days.
Yeah. Yeah, exactly.
But it's definitely not a one-size-fits-all. We can't have the world walking around in yoga pants trying to create success. Nothing against yoga pants, but it can't be the one-size-fits-all.
No. No, definitely not. That's the kind of thing I try and get across to people, that and what we're taught now is, and what we have been taught for a long time, is to get a good job. And what we don't realise is that good job isn't paying for our happiness; it's paying for somebody else's. In a lot of instances.
Right, and that's something that people don't necessarily grasp. It's when you're working for somebody else, it's a great thing to do as long as it's aligned with who you are and it's something that you want to do.
Yes.
But then you look at the number of people that they're doing something because it's what is expected. Let's say that someone has a family full of doctors. It said that all your siblings are doctors. Well, you must be a doctor too, even though they might be wanting to, let's say, become an architect or whatever. That's where their passion and what they're truly drawn to. But because of that family pressure, they go to med school, they become a doctor, but then every day they're not being fulfilled. There's this empty shell going through the motions.
Yeah. And to the outside world, they look successful. And they're not. They're dying inside.
Right, exactly. And that's where that shift has to come, that people have to start defining their own path in life, to do the things that will make them happy and feel fulfilled, not just, hey, I feel happy because I'm making all the others around me happy, but inside it's like there's this little voice going, yeah, you forgot about me, I'm over here. And
exactly. You've got to look after yourself before you can look after others.
Right. Totally.
Effectively, even I don't travel on airplanes very often, but I believe that part of the safety thing is you've got to put your own mask on before you put on your child's mask. And that's what you've got to do. Right.
You think how many people don't do that. They're going to be the one who's going to walk up and down the aisle, put on everyone's mask. It doesn't matter that they're about to pass out, they're blue in the face.
Yeah.
But, that's the way their mentality is.
Yeah.
And you have to shift it.
Yeah. Definitely. So it's a big shift that humanity has to make. And we're starting, I think.
Right. It is. And I think that shift has really begun for several reasons. If you look at with communication, that now more than ever. It's so easy for people to communicate
Oh,
with
yeah.
someone from anywhere in the world.
Yeah. I love I love being able to communicate with people from all cultures and countries and backgrounds. It's fabulous.
Right. It makes a big difference there. So, you look at that as a factor. And so that it breaks down misconceptions that people have about someone else when they can talk to someone from that country, from whatever part of the world, and realize like, oh, they're just like me. They just happen to live in a different time zone.
Yeah.
And so that's that first thing that starts shifting. And then the other aspect, when you look at the world, that no longer is it expected that someone's going to go and work for a company for 40 years and then retire. You're start gathering experiences. So it's that bigger shift that's taking place that people start realizing you can live your life around a lifestyle about experiences, not just you're going through this endless cycle of, oh, look, you're awake, you're going to work, you're going to sleep. And it repeats itself several times a week.
And it's not so much frowned upon anymore for you to change careers.
Right. Oh, there was that time if you changed careers, people thought, oh, no, you're doomed.
You're ruining your life.
Right. You have to stay there. They're going to give you a watch in just 10 more years.
Yeah.
Like, I got a watch. Thanks.
Yeah, I'll buy my own.
Right. Like, okay, you can stay for the cheap watch there. I'm going to go over here and have a little more fun along the way.
Yeah.
But you think about it, happiness is something that's so important that we build our lives around.
Yeah. And I think a lot of people do, either they forget it or they've never realized it in the first place, that there is a possibility of happiness. And it doesn't mean conformity, which is what everybody's expected so far. It doesn't mean doing what everybody else has done and falling in line and everything like that. Happiness can be such a wide-ranging emotion and experience.
Oh, exactly. It definitely is. There's not the one-size template for happiness. Everyone's happiness is going to be slightly different.
What makes me happy might not make somebody else happy. Watching Firefly makes me happy, but for some people, watching CSI makes them happy. It's
right.
It's different things for different people.
Right, exactly. And the thing that's most important is that people do what it takes so they can have the time in their day to do the things that make them happy.
Yes. And
But
far too often
don't do
people are working all day and they get home and they don't have the time to do things that make them happy.
Right, or it's not necessarily the time if you think about it. It's they're because they're doing something that's not very fulfilling, their energy is not as high.
Yeah.
And then when they get home, they're like, oh, gosh.
Yeah, let's stick on Netflix and just sit there and absorb the TV.
Right, exactly. Even though they said, I want to go to the gym after work. But by the time they get home, they think, the gym? There's nothing left in the gas tank. They can't go any further.
No. Work has taken everything. And what's the phrase? Work to live or live to work.
Right. And most people, their ideas, they're living to work.
Yeah. Unfortunately.
Right. And making that shift, sometimes it takes having that defining moment and recognizing it, just like you did.
Yeah. And recognizing, because as we're going back to the live to work, it's also the consumer culture where we're encouraged to buy. So we have to work to earn the money so that we can do that. And yeah, so many of us, if we really stopped and thought about it, we could live with a lot less and still be really happy.
Right. It's when it comes to things, we have to look at what is it that truly makes us happy. I use the analogy with people when it comes to like, well, how much stuff do you really need, or do you have to have these things?
Yeah.
Look at the time around the holidays. You can remember easily the trips you might have went on, the times you went to visit people, those are the things that lasted a lifetime. But then if you were to ask someone, so what did you get for your 13th birthday? There's this long pause, like, stuff. I mean, I really couldn't tell you what I got for any birthday, any of the holidays, because I don't know. But I can tell you the times like, oh, well, we did this one thing, which was really fun because there's an emotion that's linked to it. It's an experience. And it goes back down to living life.
Experiences over things.
Right. Because, you look at the analogy of, with, let's say, toys during the holidays. Think about kids where, like, that, they get a toy, like, I got this toy. How long is it before they kind of go, next?
Yeah. Half the time I remember when I was younger, my brother's a lot younger than me, and he used to love playing with the boxes. He wasn't interested in the toy.
Well, that's different. Was he a cat?
But, this is it. The simple things that you don't think about can bring more pleasure than mass-produced items.
Right, exactly. It's all about what is going to make you happy as an individual. And oftentimes it's revolving around an experience because those are those things that will always last. They don't decay over time. You can always talk about it.
Yeah.
So it's something that's extremely powerful. So when you're looked at your life and you had that defining moment, what made you decide that you wanted to change things? You want to build a business instead of just following what everybody expected. Like, oh, you should be back in the corporate world. You need to do these things. You need to do all this other stuff that you're like, really?
Yeah, it was partly the motherhood thing and I'd been a student as well. I'd gone back to university and I got my degree and my master's, and suddenly I was like, I don't want to be told by somebody else what I can and can't do. I don't want to be told, no, you can't go to your child's sports day because you've got to work that day. So that was part of it. Wanting the freedom to be able to spend time with my kids. But a lot of it was the fact that I wanted to build something for myself. I wanted to create something for myself rather than working for somebody else's benefit.
Okay, great. And that's definitely one thing that's extremely important and valuable because you're doing something that's about what makes you happy. And you look at how many people who would have been in similar shoes, regardless of how much they wanted to be able to spend time with their kids, there's that underlying fear that said, oh no, I can't do that because of whatever reason, instead of focusing on how can you make this work so you can spend time with your children.
Yeah, not I can't, but how can I?
Right, that's often the question that goes unasked.
Yeah, definitely. So many people I hear and see in my business. When I first started out in business, I did web design. I don't do it anymore. But it was so many people saying, I can't do that because that's technical. And I'm looking at them and I'm seeing them operate the phone and I'm seeing them using Word documents. And I'm thinking, you just have to learn a little bit. And yes, you can. You've got to make the effort. And so many people were like, oh, no, it's technical, I can't do it. Instead of thinking, okay, how can I learn this in a way that will serve me best?
Right, exactly. And that is a challenge for people because people are conditioned to not ask the question. They're usually taught, okay, well, that's just the way it is. You just got to keep on going.
I'm this kind of person, so I can't do that, so I'm not even going to try.
Right, exactly. That anything in life can be learned. It's just a matter of to what capacity. That each of us has that skill set. That there's going to be things that each of us are
we all learn to drive a car and and things like that, but we don't. I mean, we need to know the basics of where the petrol and the oil and the water goes, but we don't need to know the exact workings of the combustion engine. But we need to know enough, and we can do it.
Right, exactly. It's the same thing, like just expanding upon that. Let's say that if you're going to become a race car driver, that no matter how much each of us like to drive fast, not everybody in the world is going to have the physical skill set
No.
to take it to that level. But we all have those areas where we can be able to learn and grow in.
Yes.
And we realize that, we can excel at that. But the other thing, I'm not touching that.
Yeah. Yeah. But so many people just don't even try.
Right.
They just see the roadblock and don't even try and find the way around it.
Right, exactly. Oh, roads shut down. Oh, well, I guess we got to go home and just turn around and go back.
Yeah.
Versus, oh, well, let's just go around it. And not realizing if you look closely, it's, instead of it being this big massive tree, it's a prop from a movie, and it's all styrofoam, so you can move it. It's only like 50 pounds or something.
Yeah.
So it's those little tiny things that you have to do. So now, tell us a little bit more about the business you're in today.
Today, like I say, over the last couple of years, a lot of shifts occurred. And today, I'm in such a great place emotionally and mentally and businessly. That's a kind of made-up word there.
Word. Yeah.
Because what I decided to do was I wanted to mentor people. Now, I've been doing this as a volunteer for quite a few years. And I realised how much it lights me up to help people achieve their own dreams and to show people ideas and visions and dreams beyond what they might see for themselves. So that's what I started off with, Path 42, which is the business I run. And the idea is that I want to help visionary business people, that's entrepreneurs and people who own businesses, to see the goals and visions, to know themselves and their business, and empower themselves to get out there and take the awesome action that they need to take to be the best person that they can be.
Oh, definitely. Now, I have to ask, is the business name inspired from Hitchhiker's Guide to the Galaxy?
Oh, yes.
I'm thinking Path 42. We're like, I get it.
Yeah, I'm a big Douglas Adams fan. And when I was thinking of the name for the business, I thought it has to have 42 in it. And actually, the path bit comes from the books as well, because the made-up answer to the made-up question to the answer 42 was, how many roads must a man walk down? So I just changed it to path. And it's kind of like what we were talking about at the beginning, is this is what I'm encouraging people to do, is to find their own paths. And, there's more than 42. Believe me.
Right. Right, exactly. But it's dividable by 42, right?
Yes. Yeah.
That's the key. There's always more than ample ways to achieve that, or let's say discover that path that you have to go on. There's not that perfect one that it's, and like the Wizard of Oz. Oh, look, it's the yellow brick road that you get to walk down. Like, no, it's probably paved, or you might have to walk through a forest, but it's going to be entirely different for each person. Yeah,
it is, and a lot of, especially in business, I'm seeing that a lot of people are saying, "Oh, do this my way. This is the way you do it," and people are struggling because they don't fit in with that way, and they don't realise that they can take the ideas that they do fit in with and adapt them to make them their own.
Right. Exactly. And that's one of those key things is you look at what somebody has done and you can use it as a template, as a model that it's to narrow down the focus or where that here's something that works. How can you take it and make it your own so you're not scratching your head wondering, well, now what do I do? They said to do these things, but that doesn't really fit me. Or you think about, let's say, if someone needs to write an ad for a business. You look at how many people want to just copy an ad specifically and not realize that's not their voice. They would never
No.
say things like that.
And yeah, voice, definitely. We've each got our own voice, and so many are trying to copy somebody else instead of
Right.
finding their own.
Right, exactly. I always love telling people that you spent your whole life becoming an expert at being you. Why
Yes.
are you going to become an amateur at being someone else?
I love that. That's great. Yeah.
But
Yeah.
you look at how many times it happens each and every day with people.
Yes. Yeah. And I mean, even in like the pop world and stuff like that, there's all these performers who are trying to be like somebody else when
Right.
really they'd better serve the public by being themselves and being the best version of themselves and giving us something a bit different.
Right. If you think about the musical acts that have been around for, 20, 30, 40 years, they've all been themselves. They were never trying to copy someone else. It wasn't
Yeah.
they sound just like, well, no, they created
sound
their
like
own sound.
themselves.
Right.
Yeah, it's and if you listen to some bands and the progression from when they started 20, 30 years ago to where they are now, and you can see how they've changed and they've adapted
Right.
and they've evolved.
Right. Exactly.
And-
And they've done things because they wanted to do it, not because
Yeah.
someone said, "Oh, you should make an album that sounds this way."
Yes,
That usually never works very well.
it doesn't. Yeah, I've seen bands do that and fail miserably.
Oh yeah, and it happens all the time. I think a great example, if you think about music, of a band that's just they created their own sound and they've always pretty much done what they wanted to do, is U2.
Yeah,
That over the course of decades, they've always produced their sound, and even albums that it wasn't really popular on that massive scale, but their true fans loved it.
but they
because it was
held true to
something from them.
themselves.
Right. Because they wanted to produce it because they wanted to produce it. It wasn't a producer saying, "Oh, well, you need to produce these 11 songs written by these people here because we feel it's going to sell so many more millions of records."
Yeah. And I've just finished reading Big Magic by Elizabeth Gilbert. And in it, she's talking about when you're creating something, to create it for yourself. Don't create it for other people. Create it for yourself, and the people who will enjoy it will find it.
Right. And that's so powerful because I think when people are growing their business, they're so concerned about putting out that popular message that's going to appeal to everybody instead of creating the message that's going to appeal to the right people.
Yes. It's finding your right tribe, your right community.
Right. Exactly. And so many people don't understand that if you build your tribe, you will never go hungry.
No. It is about finding, and there's enough people out there. I mean, like you say, 7 billion on this planet. There's enough people for everybody. There's enough abundance out there for everybody to be able to find their own tribe and create wealth from it. And I don't mean wealth just with money. I mean wealth internally as well.
Right, exactly. Because I think people at times can have this misconception that the only way you can build a successful business is you have to have this gargantuan and enormous following, but not realizing it doesn't have to be that big.
No.
That, if you, let's say that someone had a product that was, let's just say $500, pounds, whatever you want to call it.
Yeah.
And they just wanted to make 10,000 a month. That's selling 20 of them every single month. That's it.
Yes.
So how big of an audience do they need to make that happen?
Not that big.
Right. But when people think about it at first, like, oh my gosh, it's going to be so difficult. Well, no, just look at the numbers. You don't have to have something that's too big to make that happen. You just have to start doing it.
And I'd rather have a small group of people that I could get to know better than have this expanded group, this like mass of people, and not be able to make any connections with any of them because there was just too many to try.
Right. And relationships, that's something that's extremely important in business that so many times it gets lost because people are looking at someone like their cattle, like, okay, you're all numbers, instead of each person has a name. They have unique desires and wants.
Yes.
And it's that responsibility in your business to help each of them in their own ways. It could be through a group program. It might be through a book that someone's written. It might be through a high-end coaching program. It just depends. But it's that responsibility to address those needs.
It is. It's I did teacher training, and that was all about differentiating your lessons so that you were able to reach all the different types of learners, the visual, the oral, the kinetic learners. And that's what we should be doing with our tribe, our community, is reaching out to them and finding the best way to serve them and then proceeding from there.
Right. Now, you mentioned the different learning styles into that training. What's something people need to think about, based on the learning styles, to be able to attract the right people so their message is understood?
Well, like I said, different people learn and understand in different ways. So you can't appeal to everybody. I see a big, huge rise in video at the moment, and a lot of people doing online courses and things by video, and I detest it. I'd much rather read something or listen to a podcast by, as a secondary. This is why I like TED Talks so much, is because they give you the talk and they give you the transcript as well, so that you can read it. Because I don't do well learning by video. By somebody talking, and this is what you've got to try and help people with is allowing for different things, but also realizing that you can't please everybody. So the other side of the coin is you do what your strength is, and that will become part of your tribe as well. The people who prefer video learning, but you don't do it very much because you're not very good at presenting yourself on video, well, they will go off, but you will find the others that absolutely love the written word.
Right. Oh, definitely. And that's something I think is important you touched on there. You have to focus on your strengths, because then you're going to attract those specific types of people.
Yes.
As your audience.
Yeah.
As opposed to, if you love being on camera, it would be kind of awkward if you attracted an audience that just wants to read everything.
Yes. Yeah. Yeah.
So you've got to figure that out, of who is it that you want to have as the right audience, and then create the content that's going to resonate with them the most.
Yeah. And it is all about, this is where I always believe that you start with knowing yourself and your business. And once you know yourself and your business, then you can know what kind of clients you want to attract.
Right. Oh, definitely. You have to know yourself. But you think about how many people miss that important step of discovering who they are, so they know, oh, I get it now. These are the people that I should be focusing in on.
Yes. And so many people try to do the wrong thing for them, because that's what everybody else is doing. And then they wonder why they fail.
Right. Exactly. Now, you've built communities and different things like that. What are some of those key things that people need to know when building a community, besides knowing who they are in the beginning?
I believe in building communities because I like connecting people. I like being able to say to somebody, you need this, I know somebody who can do this, and getting people together to bounce ideas around and things like that. So to me, building communities is about connection and cooperation. I'm a member of the local Ethical Small Traders Association, and I love the idea behind that, because we all have the same ethos of trading and being ethical in our businesses, and also wanting to develop ourselves and our businesses.
Right. Okay. And that is powerful when you have those commonalities. That's just not a learning style. There's more to it, because then it's something that lasts for a long term.
Yes. Yeah. If you're building a community and you're just inviting anybody willy-nilly, and then you're only serving one small part of them, the people that don't fit in will gradually wander off anyway.
Right. Oh, exactly. And that's the thing. You have to focus on the long term, because we live in that world where people want things instantly. Like, I put up a video, I should have hundreds of people that just jump on and say, I love this. Where can I sign up?
Yeah. Doesn't work like that.
Right.
And
we wish it did, but it doesn't.
I mean, even the people that you think it does, they've been working damn hard behind the scenes for years to get to that point.
Right. That's the thing people don't realize about business. You think about the overnight success. I think that a great example is, you look at recently, the Olympics concluded, and you'll see the people where they won a gold medal. It doesn't matter where they're from, but someone might get that impression, like, oh my gosh, look, they made it look so easy to do. And not realizing that, oh, well, they spent the past 10 years training for this moment that lasted 60 seconds.
Yes.
But they were training 8 to 10 hours every single day, that they gave up tons of things to make that happen. So what might have appeared very effortlessly, it took tens of thousands of hours of dedicated training to make it work.
Yeah. And like you said, people are so used to the fast result, and they want to, the quick book and stuff like that. And yet, really, building a solid foundation by building communities and relationships means eventually you'll get a more meaningful and possibly profitable life.
Right. Exactly. And that's the key. You have to focus in on what's going to make things more profitable for you by attracting the right people and putting in the work, because there's not going to be the simple get all the business pieces in place, add water, put it in the microwave for 60 seconds, and ding, there you go, instant success.
No, in my case, the microwave would probably blow up.
That'd be on the news. Live at 5, one tries to create a successful business in the microwave, and it blows up.
Yes. Now that could be a really good little cartoon, that. But
oh yeah, totally.
Totally. Yeah, everybody seems to think there's a cookie cutter approach. I think that's the right term, where or a jigsaw approach, where they think I've got all the pieces, and you won't know. There's a British comedian from the 60s and 70s called Eric Morecambe, and he actually is a comedian from my hometown. And he did this sketch where he was playing the piano, and he was told, you're not playing the right tune. He says, I'm playing all the right notes, just not necessarily in the right order. That's what some people approach business like. They think they've got all the right notes, but they don't realize they haven't got them in the right order for them. They've got them in the right order for somebody else.
Right, exactly. And it's so critical that you can have all the right tools. You could buy all the right products out there in the world, but if someone doesn't show you, here's the exact order you need to do this in, and sure, make it sound like it's your own, but you have to do it this way, it makes the most sense. I always like to use dating analogies so people can understand, because everyone can relate to it, where people want to, they go in too quickly, and a lot of times where they expect the instant results. You think about, like, that person that walks up to someone in a bar and they say, "So, your place or mine?" It doesn't end well typically.
You have no idea, Byron. I've been single for just over a year, and I've been dipping my toes into online dating, and I've actually written a short ebook about this, about the analogies between online dating and running a business. And it was absolutely the number of men. And I mean, obviously, because I was looking for a man, I didn't see the women's side of it, so I don't know how they are. Right. But the number of men that would say, "Hi, how are you?" And within 2 sentences, they're asking you very, very personal questions that you really don't want to answer.
Wow.
and it was like, and then getting offended when you were trying to say, "No, I don't want to talk about that. Let's have a conversation." No, very few of them wanted a conversation. They wanted to get right down to it.
Well, that's being direct. Like, let's skip all the pleasantries and building up the rapport. Yeah. Let's just go straight at it.
Yeah, that's what it was like. It was hilarious in some ways because I've got quite a broad sense of humour, but in other ways, I was thinking if there was somebody who was a little less, I don't know, not worldly wise, but some people could be really easily offended or really upset by the way that they were being approached.
Oh, definitely. And the reality is, when you think about that aspect as a whole and put it in terms of business, that can be a turnoff, or it can create a bad impression about many people. Yes. Because they'll see them coming like, "Oh, here that person comes again. Look out." Yeah. Because they're going to.
It's like when you go to a real life networking meeting and somebody comes along and shoves a business card in your face.
Right.
You're like, "No, I just want to chat first."
Right. I've lost track about the number of business cards that I just threw out. Oh, because they just came up like, "Here's my card." And you are who? Because I'll look at it later like, "Where did this come from?" Whatever.
Yeah, I actually don't have any anymore.
Yeah.
I'd rather, if somebody wants to connect with me, I'd rather write a note, make it personal.
Right. Oh, definitely. And these days, what I love doing, it's leveraging social media to connect with people. Say, "Oh, you want to connect with me? Okay, hey, let's connect on Facebook, LinkedIn, or whatever."
Yes.
Because since it's a more proactive step, it filters out the people that just want to sell something right away. They don't care about the relationship or the rapport. Like, "Oh, I just wanted to sell you something." I could find 1,000 of people like you to buy something from if I just wanted that. And that creates a perfect filter.
Yes, and I love social media. I just connecting with people and seeing what else is out there, and it's a far better way than just sticking your business card in somebody's face and hoping that they might remember and not throw it out next time they clean out their handbag.
Right, exactly, because it happens all the time, and people wonder, like, I handed out like 150 business cards at a networking event, but I didn't get any calls.
No, because they probably had 150 cards handed to them all the throughout the event.
Right, exactly. Versus if you're thinking about networking effectively, it should be to the point where you're having just a handful of solid conversations with people. Yes. So when you pull up their card or you pull up that note, you realize, "Oh yeah, I remember we talked about this, here's the other 3 points," and you're able to follow up with them effectively versus, "Oh, geez,
who was that again?
This person, okay, and next." Yeah. And it gets rid of the awkwardness, and so it gets away from the copy and paste emails that people will send if you meet someone at a networking event where it's too impersonal. It's like, "Hey, great meeting at the networking event. I enjoyed our conversation. We talked."
Yeah, when they don't even know what you talked about.
Right. The conversation was, "Here's my card. Look forward to talking to you." And then they ran away.
Yeah.
But that's not really a conversation.
No, not at all. And also with the emails, the number of times that you hand out your business card and then all of a sudden you're on a list.
Right.
Don't do that.
Right. Oh, definitely. It's something that people don't understand, that if you want to add people to a list, oh, that's great. But send them an email saying, hey, I give great value on this. Can I add you to it? Just a simple little thing there, because otherwise, there's a couple great reasons you think about it. It cuts down spam complaints for starters.
Yeah.
As people don't think about that, like, but why would people consider it spam? How much junk do you get? Oh, yeah, good point.
Yeah, exactly. And
sometimes you have to remind people that way.
Yeah, it takes a little bit more effort to build a relationship with somebody, but I'd rather build a relationship with a handful of people than try and be in touch just on a superficial level with 100 or so.
Right. Oh, definitely. As the superficial relationships, they typically don't go anywhere versus the ones when you focus on building deep, solid ones. Those are the ones that lead to opportunities left and right.
Yes. And it's not always about opportunities for selling something to that person. You make that connection with somebody and they might not want to buy what you're selling, but they might know somebody else who does.
Exactly. And that's always the key, is looking at what are the relationships and what connections do they lead to.
Yes.
As if every person has, let's say, 250 connections in their network, and if you're at that networking event, which is more beneficial? Adding value to, let's say, 5 people that you're talking to, or looking at how can you add value to, the 1,250 people those 5 people are connected to as a whole.
Yeah. And when this is the whole premises of me wanting to build communities, it's like I have a Facebook group. I don't necessarily want to sell to that Facebook group. I want to connect with them, and I want to help them grow, and I want to, build that relationship with them. It's not necessarily about selling, but it is about connections and hoping that somewhere along the line, with all the help and advice you're giving, there will be some buying of some sort coming back to you. But it is giving value to people as best you can, rather than giving attention rather than value to the masses.
Right. The more value you can provide up front, the more powerful it becomes. It's because then you're demonstrating the reasons why people should buy from you. So when that opportunity comes, they look like, oh my gosh, you have the solution I've been looking for.
Yes.
You become the logical choice for them to make in terms of that buy decision. Instead of, well, there's 10 people to choose from. Like, well, it comes down to, well, the other 9 people, they didn't provide any value.
And when you're making those connections, one of the things that I've loved about the communities I'm in is the sharing and the giving. And often I've heard people say, oh, so many people have helped me and I feel really bad that I've not been able to return it. I said, well, yes, you're not going to return it to them necessarily because they're slightly ahead of you in the game, but you can always pass it on to somebody else. And that is, again, what community is about. It's not about paying back the person who helped you directly, but you pay them back by helping somebody else.
Right, exactly. That is so important. So as we begin to wrap things up here, what's one thing that someone should do today to start building a community to grow their business?
If I was starting out today, building a community and to build my business, I would say be offering value as much as possible to people and helping people and reaching out to people. Don't do it randomly either. Really try and connect with people who resonate with you and you feel are people who can be mutually beneficial. I'm all for the mutually beneficial rather than the parasitic relationship. And if I was starting out today, I would be doing what I do now, except I would have done it sooner, and that is consistently reaching out and giving value as much as possible and as often as possible.
Okay. And that in itself is powerful, because if people are taking action with intention, it speeds the process up instead of just taking random action every single day.
Yeah. Yeah, random actions are all very good because at least you're taking action, but the right action at the right time and to the right person makes a heck of a difference.
Right. Oh, definitely. Now, how can people learn more about you?
They can find me on social media. Please connect with me on social media. I love connecting with people. Just say that you know me from Byron. And I'm always Take Path 42. So on Twitter, I'm at Take Path 42. The same on Instagram. My page on Facebook is Take Path 42 as well. So I would love people to reach out for me and connect, and let's start a conversation and let's build greater communities.
Oh, that's awesome. Well, I want to thank you for coming on the Big Movement podcast today.
It's great. I've been listening to a few of your podcasts, and there's such powerful messages. It's really good.
Oh, thank you so much.
Thanks for listening to the Big Movement Podcast today. And be sure to subscribe so you don't miss an episode. Now that you've surely been inspired to take your entrepreneurial career and business to the next level, you can stop by the website and get more. And if you're ready to boost your business brand, be sure to grab your free report, 7 Easy Steps to Build Your Brand Today.